Things are heating up in the world of professional wrestling. What's up, Fred Richani, TSC Wrestling. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. FightfulSelect.com, PWIinsider.com are reporting that former AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May is going to WWE. That's right. The woman who made herself a star with that incredible feud with Toni Storm, maybe the best feud in AEW history, period, in any division. She is now going to WWE, according to reports. Kind of crazy, in my opinion, for a few reasons. One, I think Tony Khan had to have offered her a substantial amount of money. Two, I think she has a lot of creative freedom in AEW, and she's been allowed to, along with Toni Storm, to push the envelope a little bit. And three, I think they would have definitely built around her as a top star. That being said, it's WWE. It is the biggest pro wrestling league in the world today and will be for the foreseeable future. I'm sure they could, I say could, offer her a whole lot of money. She does fit their kind of archetype, prototype for what they want a female superstar to be. Fairly or unfairly, that's not to say that she's not a top star or has top star quality. I think she does. I think she could be a main eventer in any promotion. But WWE does love that mold. And on top of that, there is a bit of a changing of the guard, right? WWE always likes to bring in new talent. WWE always likes to call up new talent. Of course, Stephanie Vaquer, rumored to imminently be on Raw or SmackDown. Roxanne Perez just got called up. Julia just got called up. I would imagine at some point Jordan Grace has to be called up. She's awesome too. So you look at the landscape right now, like, what's going on here? Who can we bring up? Who can we maybe have replenish NXT? Well, that would be Mariah May. Now, is this a good move or not? Depends. From what I understand, it is her dream to go to WWE, and hey, I think it's most wrestlers' dreams to go to WWE, and that is great. But I hope she made the right decision. And when I say that, I mean I hope that she got the bag and she got paid. Because here's the thing, right? Stephanie Vaquer, as translated, I believe it was Fightful Espanol, I believe we translated it a few weeks back, did an interview for a media outlet in Spanish and had essentially said, yeah, I could have taken a bigger offer at AEW, but I wanted to go to WWE. And when I told them my offer, they said, oh, we can't pay that. Have a great run in AEW. I'm paraphrasing. You could Google it. Stephanie Vaquer interview on AEW. You could Google it. I could include it in the show notes as well. But essentially, she said something along the lines of, hey, AEW offered me more money. When I told WWE, they said, thanks, but no thanks. We can't pay that. Good luck in AEW. And she said she cried, called her father. Her father said, follow your heart. And according to reports, she signed for substantially less money with WWE. Now, that being said, I know some of y'all are going to say, well, she became double champion in NXT. She's been a top star. She just killed it with Io Sky a few weeks ago. And you are right. And look, when she gets called up officially, she will have the opportunity to earn a lot more money. And I'm just thinking, like, okay, she'll earn money through licensing. She'll earn money through merch. She is a rising star. She definitely has the it factor. I think she's getting over more than I think anybody expected, even her biggest fans in WWE, as far as just connecting with the crowd. So she may be the exception to the rule in the long run, but still, out of principle, I look at it this way. If you're a free agent, not somebody desperate and just in need of a job and your options are wearing thin, but a free agent who is coveted, you should get that money. Why? Because at the end of the day, especially with a company like WWE, they got it. I literally just got a press release today from TKO. They announced the quarterly dividend. They obviously got the money to pay shareholders. They obviously got the money to jack up these ticket prices. So I just hope for Mariah May's sake and any future free agent's sake who has any amount of buzz like she does or like Stephanie Vaquer had, that they actually get their money. There was a guy, and granted, this is over 20 years ago, but a little guy by the name of AJ Styles back in the day was offered a WWE developmental deal. And AJ Styles, being still happily married, and he might have already had a kid on the way or a young child. And he was like, you know what? I don't think this is going to work for me. And he bet on himself, and look what happened. And that was when he didn't really have a whole lot of options because TNA was just starting out. Who knew it'd still be around to this day? ROH was just, actually, I don't even think ROH had really started around the time he rejected the developmental deal offer. So you got to think about that. WCW just died. ECW just died. He bet on himself. Granted, AJ, generational talent. I'm just saying, if you have the opportunity to get paid substantially more money, and on top of that, AEW is willing to build around you, and on top of that, you get presumably more creative input, and on top of that, right? Like, not you're allowed to do like outside projects and all those different things. That's a big deal. Also, on top of that, from what I understand, AEW still to this day pays for talents' hotels, rental cars, flights, all that jazz. Whereas with WWE, depending on where you're at in the tax bracket and the echelon, well, you still have to pay out of your own pocket. Now, granted, as an independent contractor, and you can make the argument none of these guys should be independent contractors. I'll make that argument. You could write it off, and if you have a good accountant, like it's a business expense. Still, it's rather inconvenient, and it's one more thing you have to worry about. Here's the other thing. While Tony Khan has not always been great, reportedly, with some communication with certain talents, such as allegedly, Scorpio Sky, Joey Janela, Leva Bates, people who are nearing the end of their deals and maybe aren't always in his, purview. But historically, Tony Khan has not cut people. Now, he's released some people recently, right? But for the most part, you hear about guys' contracts expiring. You don't really hear about them outright letting guys go. I mean, maybe there are some cuts that they've made, I'm sure. It's a corporation after all. But you don't hear it as much. Whereas WWE, I mean, you look at Bray Wyatt, God rest his soul. He was the golden child at one point. Got released. Braun Strowman, one of the golden children, got released twice. So, look, I'm not trying to throw cold water on Mariah May's WWE hopes. I think she could be a big star. I think she could be very successful. There's no guarantees either way. All I'm saying is I hope that she got some legitimate financial guarantees, a substantial raise, and whatever AEW was paying her or offering to pay her, I really hope she got the equivalent of that or a lot more with WWE, because at the end of the day, they got the money. Like, let's be real here. They got the money and then some. So whatever the case may be, I think as long as she's given an opportunity to succeed, she will succeed. She proved that in the epic Toni Storm feud. She proved that with her work with Mina Shirakawa. Obviously, it all had to be a perfect storm, and it all worked out. And at the end of the day, she could be very proud of herself for that AEW run. And yes, if you want to levy some criticism at AEW, you can, because a couple things. One, why is Mariah May only on a 2-year contract? That's crazy to me for any talent, but in particular, Mariah May. Okay, you want to sign somebody who's a good hand, maybe somebody who's like in their 30s, 40, late 30s, 40s to a 2-year deal. Okay, whatever. But Mariah May's in her mid-20s. She's primed for an epic run. And this is the other thing I think that why some people may be like, wait a minute, why is she signing with WWE this soon? Because of the fact she is still relatively young. She could have probably signed another 2-3-year deal with AEW. I wish her the very best. And yeah, the other criticism I'd have of AEW is just that they're really inconsistent when it comes to the women's booking. It's getting better because you have one of the all-time greats in Mercedes Moné. And when I say all-time greats, I mean male or female of her generation. You have Toni Storm, who is just on another level outside of like Mercedes and a select few in that company and in the business in general. Okay. You have great talent, but as we've seen historically, and this is with all divisions, the follow-up's not always great, right? Sometimes it would take a while for them to reheat Hangman. Now he's on an amazing run. I mean, Willow Nightingale should have already been a world champion, if we're being honest. Chris Statlander should have already been a world champion, career-defining win. Her heel turn to face turn was never really explained. But at the same token, in WWE, you still have the issue of barely any women's matches, depending on the show. I mean, SmackDown a few weeks ago only had a handful of minutes. They just threw in the Chelsea Green's Lena match with like barely any build on Saturday night's main event. And yeah, that was a terrible match, but they also had literally no time to work with. And yeah, I mean, look, there's definitely enough criticism across the board. NXT, I think she'll absolutely get a fair shot. But at the end of the day, we all have to remember the real money, the life-changing money is on the main roster with the royalties, with the salary, with the bonuses, everything else. So I just hope and pray that she got her money, that she got a substantial raise. And I just hope for her sake that she actually did negotiate where she got just as much or more money than she would have in AEW. I really hope that is the case. You can bet on yourself. It's great. But again, they got the money. Anyway, I want to hear from y'all. What do you think about Mariah May? Do you think she is making the right decision to go to WWE? If you were the booker, if you were in Paul Levesque's shoes, who would you put her against first? Let me know. Leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this update, like, share. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more updates like this. We just recently did interviews with B-Fab, Karrion Kross, Katana, and Kaden. The list goes on and on. We'll have more to come. Until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the matches and congrats to Mariah May. I hope you got paid.